Imagine stepping into a pub. The comforting murmur of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the warm scent of ale and wood smoke. A place of solace, of camaraderie, a refuge from the outside world. Now, imagine that same pub, but as the clock ticks past midnight, the comforting sounds are replaced by chilling whispers. The warmth gives way to an icy dread that seeps into your bones. The clinking of glasses isn't from a bartender, but from unseen hands. And the shadows in the corners? They aren't just shadows. They're watching. They're waiting. This isn't a scene from a gothic novel or a late-night horror film. This is the reality for anyone who dares to spend time within the ancient stone walls of the Wheatsheaf Inn, nestled in the seemingly peaceful village of Fiskerton, Lincolnshire, England. For centuries, this unassuming establishment has held a dark secret, earning it a chilling reputation as the most profoundly haunted pub in the entire United Kingdom. And tonight, we're going to peel back the layers of its history, delve into the terrifying true accounts, and explore what happens when a seasoned horror author and ordained minister, Peter Laws, steps into its spectral embrace. What did he find? And what chilling truths did he uncover that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the veil between worlds? Prepare to have your perception of reality irrevocably altered, your comfortable understanding of life and death shattered. To truly grasp the malevolence that clings to the Wheatsheaf Inn, we must first journey back in time, tracing its origins to the 17th century, perhaps even earlier. Records hint at its existence as far back as the 1600s, a time of immense social upheaval, civil war, and widespread superstition. England was a land in flux, torn by conflict, its people often living on the edge of survival, their lives dictated by harsh realities and fervent beliefs. The very air was thick with tension, fear, and uncertainty. This wasn't just a local drinking hole, it was a bustling coaching inn, a vital stop along the ancient routes that crisscrossed England, connecting disparate towns and villages, a beacon of light and warmth in an often dark and dangerous world. It offered not just ale and food, but a precious commodity, respite to weary travelers, merchants laden with goods and anxieties, and soldiers marching to or from battle, their minds filled with the horrors they had witnessed or were about to face. Imagine the countless souls who passed through its doors, men and women seeking shelter from storms, their clothes heavy with rain and mud, their faces etched with fatigue, sharing secrets over pints of dark ale, their faces illuminated by flickering candlelight, their voices hushed with conspiracy or confession, celebrating triumphs with raucous laughter that echoed through the common room, or mourning losses with quiet, tearful despair that soaked into the very... Each laugh, each tear, each argument, each whispered confession, each desperate prayer for safe passage or a loved one's return, etched into the very fabric of the building, absorbed by its ancient stones and timbers, becoming a part of its very essence. With such a constant flow of transient lives, each carrying their own burdens and joys, their own hopes and heartbreaks, it's no surprise that some, perhaps, never truly left. The very stones of the Wheatsheaf Inn hold silent witness to centuries of intense human experience, a tapestry woven with threads of profound joy, searing sorrow, burning anger, and paralyzing terror, a tapestry that continues to unravel in the present day. The inn's history is steeped in the kind of human drama that often leaves an indelible, unseen mark, a psychic residue that clings to the very air, a lingering scent of past lives. Tales of infamous highwaymen, like the legendary Dick Turpin, a name synonymous with daring and danger, seeking refuge in its hidden nooks and crannies, plotting their next ambush on unsuspecting coaches, laden with gold and jewels, of clandestine meetings between conspirators, their hushed voices echoing in the dead of night, as they planned rebellions or betrayals, their faces masked by shadow and fear, of desperate souls making... There are whispers of illicit gambling dens in the dimly lit cellar, where fortunes were won and lost in a single throw of the dice, leading to ruin, despair, and sometimes violence. Some even speak of secret passages used for smuggling contraband, illicit goods passing through unseen hands, and even of bodies hidden away in forgotten corners. Victims of foul play whose tormented spirits refuse to rest, forever seeking justice or release. The very timbers of the building have absorbed centuries of raw human emotion, the boisterous revelry of celebrations that shook the rafters, the quiet despair of heartbreak that settled like a pall, the searing rage of arguments that left a bitter taste in the air, and the paralyzing terror of violent encounters that stained the very ground with blood and fear. And it is this deep, resonant history, this accumulation of intense, often violent, human energy that many believe has created a potent crucible for paranormal activity, a magnet for the restless dead. The pub isn't just old, it's alive with the echoes of its past, a past that refuses to stay buried, a past that actively reaches out to touch the present, to make itself known in chilling, undeniable ways, demanding attention, demanding to be remembered. What untold horrors, what forgotten tragedies, what desperate acts of violence or despair are still playing out behind the cheerful facade of this ancient establishment, waiting for the unwary to witness them, to become a part of their unending torment. The most infamous resident of the Wheatsheaf Inn is undoubtedly George, a spectral highwayman said to have met a violent end within the pub's very walls. The story, whispered among locals for generations, tells of George, a dashing but ruthless robber, known throughout the county for his sleek black horse, his distinctive, wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his eyes, and his quick, often deadly temper. He used the inn as his base of operations, a place to count his ill-gotten gains, to carouse with his fellow rogues, their drunken laughter echoing through the night, and to plot his next score against the wealthy travelers on the King's Highway, their purses heavy with gold. One fateful night, whether cornered by vengeful authorities who had finally tracked him down after years of pursuit, or perhaps betrayed by a greedy fellow criminal, seeking to claim his bounty and escape justice, he was shot down in cold blood, a brutal, sudden execution that left him bleeding out on the very floorboards of the main bar. His lifeblood stained the ancient wood, a dark crimson stain that some claim can still be seen on certain nights, shimmering faintly in the dim light, a permanent, horrifying scar on the pub's history, a testament to his violent end. His death, sudden and brutal, was not peaceful. He died in a fit of rage and desperation, cursing his betrayers and his fate, his final moments filled with a burning fury that imprinted itself onto the very air. His spirit, it seems, never found rest, forever bound to the scene of his violent end, forever reliving his final moments of terror and fury, an eternal loop of despair and resentment. George is not a shy ghost. His presence is often heralded by a sudden, drastic drop in temperature, a chilling cold spot that moves through the room with a deliberate, almost intelligent path, making patrons shiver even when the roaring fire in the hearth should be keeping them warm. This isn't just a draft. It's an unnatural cold that feels like a hand gripping your heart, squeezing the breath from your lungs, a physical sensation that chills you to the very core. Staff have reported objects flying off shelves in the bar area with startling force, pint glasses shattering against the wall, without explanation, their fragments scattering across the floor like icy shrapnel, a dangerous and terrifying display of unseen power. The distinct, heavy sound of footsteps pacing above in the empty rooms upstairs can be heard, often accompanied by the unmistakable clinking of spurs, a chilling reminder of his former life on the open road, a sound that echoes with a phantom presence, a ghostly echo of his restless wanderings. But perhaps most terrifying are the direct encounters. Patrons have claimed to see a tall, shadowy figure, often described as wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a long, dark coat, standing silently in the corners of the pub, watching them with an unsettling intensity, his form indistinct, like a ripple in the air, a distortion in the fabric of reality. Sometimes, he manifests more clearly, his face gaunt, his eyes hollow and filled with an ancient fury, a burning resentment that seems to pierce through you, reaching into your very soul, before vanishing as quickly as he appeared, leaving behind a lingering scent of gunpowder and the palpable residue of fear that makes your skin crawl, a cold dread that settles deep within your bones. Imagine sitting with friends, enjoying a quiet drink, the laughter and conversation flowing freely, the comforting hum of a busy pub, only to glance up and see a spectral figure staring back at you from the shadows, a figure that simply shouldn't be there, its presence a cold, undeniable weight in the room, a silent accusation, a chilling reminder of mortality. The sheer terror of that moment, the sudden, visceral understanding that you are not alone, that the barrier between worlds is thinner than you ever imagined, is enough to curdle your blood, to send a primal scream bubbling up your throat, a scream that often catches in your throat, leaving you breathless with fear, paralyzed by the sight. What does he want? Is he seeking revenge on those who wronged him, those who betrayed him to his death? Or is he simply reliving his final violent moments, trapped in an eternal loop of despair and rage, forever bound to the place of his death, unable to find peace? The question hangs heavy in the air, unanswered, adding to the pervasive dread, a constant, unsettling presence that permeates every corner of the 𝗀𝗏𝗏. But George is not the only resident. The Wheatsheaf Inn is a veritable hub of spectral activity, a crossroads for the departed, home to a multitude of entities, each with their own tragic story, each leaving their own chilling imprint on the fabric of the building, contributing to the inn's dark symphony of the supernatural. One of the most heartbreaking is the spirit of a young child, often heard crying faintly from the upper floors, a mournful, almost inconsolable sob that tugs at the heartstrings, a sound of profound loneliness and abandonment. Sometimes, a delicate, almost ethereal giggle can be heard, followed by the distinct sound of small footsteps running down the empty hallways, a fleeting echo of innocent play in a place now devoid of life. A ghostly game in the sun. Staff have reported toys moving on their own in the pub's small play area, a child's ball rolling across the floor unaided, small handprints appearing on dusty surfaces where no living child has been, and the distinct feeling of a child tugging at their clothes or brushing past their legs, a fleeting, icy touch that leaves a lingering chill long after it's gone. Sometimes, a cold, small hand will press against a patron's arm, a tiny, chilling pressure that feels impossibly real, a desperate plea for comfort, only for them to turn and find nothing there, just the empty air, a cruel illusion, a phantom touch. The cries are often described as mournful, filled with an ancient sorrow, leaving those who hear them with a profound sense of sadness and helplessness, an overwhelming desire to comfort a child they cannot see, a child forever lost in the labyrinth of time. Who was this child? What tragedy befell them within these walls that their innocent spirit remains trapped, forever seeking comfort or play, forever longing for a parent who never came, a warmth they can no longer feel, an embrace they can never receive, an embrace they can never receive. The emotional stakes here are immense. It's not just a jump scare, but a deep, unsettling empathy for a lost soul, a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring pain of loss, a haunting that resonates on a deeply human level, touching the very core of your compassion. Then there's the elegant Victorian woman, often seen gliding silently through the hallways or standing by the fireplace in the main bar, her form translucent but distinct, like a faded photograph come to life, her features etched with a quiet despair, a timeless sorrow. She is described as a more melancholic presence, her head often bowed, her posture suggesting a deep, unending sadness, a burden she carries even in death, a grief that transcends the grave. Her appearances are often accompanied by the faint, sweet scent of lavender or old, delicate perfume, a phantom fragrance that lingers in the air long after she has vanished, a ghostly reminder of her presence, a scent of a bygone era. She rarely interacts directly, preferring to observe, her gaze distant and mournful, but her presence evokes a sense of profound sadness and longing, a quiet despair that can be felt by anyone in her vicinity, a palpable aura of grief that settles like a heavy shroud. Some believe she was a former innkeeper's wife, perhaps a woman who lost her children or her husband within these walls, her grief binding her to the place of her deepest sorrow, to the memories of her lost happiness. Others speculate she was a guest who died unexpectedly, far from home, her spirit forever tied to the last place she knew comfort, forever searching for a way back to a life that was abruptly stolen from her, a life she can no longer reclaim, a love she can no longer touch. Her appearances are less about terror and more about a deep, unsettling melancholy, a poignant reminder of lives cut short and dreams unfulfilled, a quiet tragedy playing out on an endless loop, a silent lament in the heart of the inn, a perpetual echo of heartbreak. Beyond these distinct apparitions, the Wheatsheaf Inn is a hotbed of classic poltergeist activity, the kind that systematically chips away your sanity, making you question your own perception of reality, eroding your grip on the rational world, pushing you closer to the edge of madness. Staff have grown accustomed to the inexplicable, though never truly comfortable with it. Lights flickering violently, then dying completely, plunging rooms into sudden, disorienting darkness, only to snap back on moments later, leaving your eyes struggling to adjust, your heart pounding in your chest. Your heart pounding in your chest. Doors slamming shut with a force that rattles the entire building, sending shivers down your spine, even when there's no visible draft, as if an invisible hand is slamming them in frustration or rage, a violent outburst from the unseen. Objects moving on their own, pint glasses sliding across the bar as if pushed by an unseen hand, then crashing to the floor, their shards scattering like icy shrapnel, a dangerous and unpredictable display. Chairs scraping across the floor in empty rooms, their legs dragging with a chilling sound that echoes through the silence. Even heavy barrels shifting in the cellar, their metallic groans echoing in the oppressive silence, as if something immense is moving them. Something with unimaginable strength. The sound of disembodied voices, faint whispers that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, sometimes calling out names in a chilling, drawn-out tone. A voice that seems to come from inside your own head, sometimes muttering indecipherable phrases that send shivers down your spine, making the hairs on your neck stand on end. A chaotic chorus of the dead, a cacophony of lost souls. There are reports of cold spots that suddenly engulf a person, so intense that they feel like an icy hand has gripped their heart, squeezing the breath from their lungs, leaving them gasping for air, a sudden, suffocating chill. And the feeling of being touched, pushed, or even slapped by an unseen force is a common, terrifying occurrence, leaving witnesses bewildered, deeply disturbed, and often with lingering physical sensations, a coldness that seeps into their skin, a phantom bruise. What is it that causes such chaos? Is it residual energy, a replay of past events, an echo of the inn's tumultuous history, playing out like a broken record? An unending loop of suffering, devoid of consciousness? Or is there an intelligent, malevolent force actively trying to assert its presence, to drive people away, to torment them, to feed on their fear, or perhaps to simply make them aware of its unending torment, its eternal imprisonment within these ancient walls, begging for release, or seeking company in its misery? The sheer randomness and intensity of these events suggest something more than just echoes. They suggest an active, conscious presence, a malevolent will at play, a force that actively seeks to interact, to terrify. The psychological toll on the staff, those who spend countless hours within these haunted walls, is immense. Imagine going to work every day, knowing that at any moment, the lights could go out, a glass could explode, or an unseen hand could touch you in the darkness, pulling at your clothes, tugging at your hair. Bartenders have recounted stories of refusing to go into the cellar alone, the oppressive darkness and chilling cold too much to bear, a place where they feel an undeniable presence watching them from the shadows. They speak of having to sing loudly or talk to themselves to ward off the oppressive feeling of being watched, of constantly checking over their shoulders, their nerves frayed to breaking point, every shadow a potential threat, every creak of the old building a possible manifestation. One former manager, a man who prided himself on his stoicism and rational mind, a man who had seen much in his life, spoke of a persistent feeling of dread that would descend upon him every night after closing. A sensation that he was never truly alone. Even when the pub was empty and locked, the only living soul within its wall. He described waking up in the middle of the night, convinced he could hear whispers from downstairs, the faint clinking of glasses, the scraping of chairs, as if the spectral patrons were still enjoying their drinks, their ghostly revelry continuing long after the living had left. A perpetual party of the damned, a macabre echo of life. The line between reality and the supernatural blurs for those who live and work in such an environment, their minds slowly eroded by the constant exposure to the inexplicable, their perceptions twisted, their sanity slowly chipped away. It's not just about the fear of ghosts, it's about the constant erosion of your sense of safety, your grip on what is real, your very sanity. How long can a person endure such an environment before it breaks them? Before they too become another lost soul, trapped within the inn's chilling embrace, another victim of its pervasive dread? The Wheatsheaf Inn doesn't just haunt its visitors. It preys on the minds of those who serve it, those who dare to linger, leaving them forever changed, forever looking over their shoulder, forever questioning the reality they once knew. But it's not just the staff, the long-term residents of this spectral theater. Hundreds of guests, from casual drinkers enjoying a pint after work to seasoned paranormal enthusiasts, armed with their high-tech equipment, EMF meters, thermal cameras, voice recorders, have reported their own chilling encounters, adding to the ever-growing dossier of the inn's hauntings, a testament to its undeniable activity. One couple, enjoying a quiet meal in the dining area, their conversation light and carefree, watched in stunned silence as a heavy framed painting on the wall slowly tilted, then crashed to the floor with a deafening clatter, despite no one being near it. The glass shattering across the room like a sudden burst of ice. They swore they saw a ripple in the air just before it fell, as if something invisible had brushed past it, a fleeting disturbance in the air. Another group, playing darts in the games room, their friendly competition in full swing, suddenly found their game interrupted when the dartboard itself began to spin wildly on its axis, faster and faster, defying gravity and logic, then stopped abruptly, facing the wall, as if an unseen player was making a deliberate, chilling statement, a challenge from beyond the grave. There are countless reports of people feeling sudden, intense waves of nausea or dizziness upon entering certain rooms, a profound sense of unease that washes over them. A feeling of being overwhelmed by an unseen force, a psychic attack, only for the sensation to vanish the moment they step back out into another area, as if crossing an invisible threshold, a boundary between worlds. These aren't isolated incidents. They are consistent, recurring phenomena, reported by diverse individuals with no prior knowledge of the pub's reputation. People who came in as skeptics and left as believers, their lives forever changed by what they witnessed, their minds forever haunted by the inexplicable, their rational world turned upside down. This brings us to the unique involvement of Peter Laws. For those unfamiliar, Peter Laws is not your typical ghost hunter, draped in black and seeking sensationalism, chasing shadows for YouTube clicks. He's a highly respected horror author, known for his chilling novels that delve into the darkest corners of human nature, and the supernatural, exploring themes of fear, faith, and the unknown with a nuanced and intellectual approach. A man who understands the architecture of dread. But he's also an ordained Baptist minister, a man of profound faith who approaches the paranormal with a fascinating blend of intellectual skepticism, theological understanding, and a profound respect for the unknown, for the spiritual dimensions of existence. He's not looking for cheap thrills or easy answers. He's looking for truth, for meaning, for understanding in the face of the inexplicable, seeking to reconcile the spiritual with the scientific, the sacred with the profane, the known with the unknown. So, when Peter Laws, a man of such unique credentials, a man who has dedicated his life to exploring the boundaries of belief and reality, decided to investigate the Wheatsheaf Inn, the paranormal community, and indeed, the wider public, took notice. His involvement lent an unprecedented level of credibility to the pub's chilling reputation, elevating it beyond mere pub folklore and into the realm of serious inquiry. Peter Laws visited the Wheatsheaf Inn with an open mind, but a critical eye determined to apply his rigorous analytical skills to the claims, to find logical explanations where possible, to test the boundaries of the rational. He wasn't there to simply confirm ghost stories. He was there to observe, to analyze, to experience the phenomena firsthand, to dissect the fear, to understand its origins, to peel back the layers of the supernatural. What he encountered, however, defied simple rationalization, challenging his carefully constructed worldview, forcing him to confront the limits of his own understanding, pushing him into uncomfortable territory. He described the atmosphere as oppressive, a palpable weight that settled upon him the moment he entered, a feeling of being suffocated by an unseen presence, a pressure on his chest that made it hard to breathe, as if the very air was being squeezed from his lungs. He spoke of the distinct cold spots, not just drafts, but pockets of intense, unnatural cold that seemed to move with an intelligence, following him as he walked through the rooms, swirling around him like an unseen entity, a chilling presence. He documented the sounds, the faint whispers that seemed to brush against his ear, so close he could almost make out the words, the distant, dragging footsteps from empty rooms above, the inexplicable creaks and groans that seemed to emanate from the very structure of the building, as if the inn itself was groaning in pain, a living, suffering entity, its ancient timbers burdened by centuries of sorrow. One of his most compelling experiences involved a specific area of the pub, a small, unassuming corner near the fireplace in the main bar, a spot that seemed innocuous, yet held a hidden sorrow, a palpable sense of grief. Here, he felt an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair, a profound melancholy that was not his own, a wave of grief that washed over him, bringing with it a deep, unshakable sorrow. He described it as a heavy cloak of emotion, a feeling so intense it brought tears to his eyes. Despite having no personal connection to the pub's history, or any prior knowledge of specific tragedies tied to that spot. Was this the lingering echo of the Victorian woman? Her unending sorrow imprinted on the very air? A residual haunting of her grief? A permanent stain on the atmosphere? Or perhaps the residual pain of countless sorrowful lives lived and lost within these walls? An accumulation of centuries of human misery? A collective despair that had coalesced into a tangible force? He also recounted feeling a distinct, cold touch on his arm. A sensation that lasted for several seconds, a chilling pressure that felt impossibly real, leaving him with goosebumps and a profound sense of unease, a feeling that something unseen had deliberately reached out and made contact. A cold, spectral hand, a touch from beyond the grave. He tried to rationalize it, to find a logical explanation, a draft, a trick of the mind, a physiological response to the cold. But the sensation was too clear, too deliberate, too undeniably real, too personal. It was a moment that shook his skepticism to its core, forcing him to acknowledge that some things simply cannot be explained away by conventional means, that there are forces at play beyond our current understanding. Laws, with his theological background, also considered the possibility of demonic influence, or perhaps something more akin to a psychic residue, the accumulated emotional energy of centuries of human experience, a kind of spiritual imprint left behind by intense human emotion, by joy and sorrow, by life and death, by every triumph and every tragedy. He didn't jump to sensational conclusions or declare it a demonic possession without further evidence. But his investigation left him deeply unsettled, convinced that something truly extraordinary was at play, something that transcended simple folklore and local superstition, something that demanded a deeper inquiry. He concluded that the Wheatsheaf Inn was not merely a place of folklore, but a location where the veil between the living and the dead was genuinely thin, allowing for interaction, for communication, for a terrifying glimpse into what lies beyond. A place where the boundaries of reality blurred, where the spiritual and the physical intertwined in a chilling dance. His unique perspective, combining a rational, investigative approach with a spiritual understanding, lends immense weight to his findings. If a man of both science and faith, a man who has dedicated his life to understanding the unseen, comes away profoundly disturbed, his worldview shaken, what does that say about the true nature of the Wheatsheaf Inn? It suggests that the phenomena are not easily dismissed, that they demand a deeper, more unsettling explanation, one that challenges the very foundations of our understanding, of the world, of life, and of death. The lingering question, then, is what exactly is happening at the Wheatsheaf Inn? Is it the residual energy of past events, playing out like a broken record? An echo of suffering trapped in time, a mere playback of historical trauma, devoid of consciousness or intent? Or are these intelligent entities, conscious spirits of the departed, actively interacting with the living, perhaps seeking something? Revenge, comfort, release, recognition, or simply to make their presence known, or simply unable to move on, trapped in an eternal purgatory, forever bound to the place of their final moments, their unfinished business keeping them. The sheer variety of phenomena, from the violent poltergeist activity that rattles the very foundations of the pub, causing objects to fly and doors to slam with terrifying force, to the melancholic, almost sorrowful presence of the Victorian woman, her grief a palpable weight in the air, to the direct, terrifying manifestations of George the Highwayman, his rage still palpable, his present threat that makes you feel, watch it in hunt. Could it be a combination of all these things, a perfect storm of historical trauma, intense emotional imprints, and conscious entities, all converging in one ancient location, creating a nexus of paranormal activity unlike any other, a place where the veil has been torn open? The answer remains elusive, adding to the inn's terrifying allure, its enduring mystery. The emotional stakes for those who experience these phenomena are profound. It's not just a fleeting scare, a momentary fright quickly forgotten. It's a fundamental challenge to one's worldview, a shattering of preconceived notions about life and death, about what is possible and what is not, about the very nature of reality. To witness a glass explode on its own, to hear a child crying inconsolably in an empty room, to feel an unseen hand touch you in the darkness, a cold, deliberate touch that lingers. These experiences can leave lasting psychological scars, leading to sleepless nights, pervasive anxiety, and a constant, unsettling questioning of reality. A gnawing. For the staff, it's a daily battle against the unseen, a constant vigilance against the inexplicable, a job that demands a unique kind of courage, a resilience against the encroaching dread that permeates their workplace. For the guests, it's a chilling anecdote that often turns into a lifelong obsession, a profound realization that there is more to this world than meets the eye, a terrifying glimpse behind the curtain of existence, a glimpse that can never be unseen, forever changing their perception of the world. The fear isn't just immediate, it's a creeping dread that follows you home, making you question every shadow, every creak in your own house, every unexplained sound, every sudden chill, every whisper of the wind. The Wheatsheaf Inn doesn't just haunt its visitors. It preys on the minds of those who serve it, those who dare to linger, leaving them forever changed, forever looking over their shoulder, forever questioning the reality they once knew, forever haunted by the echoes of the Wheatsheaf Inn. The Wheatsheaf Inn stands as a testament to the enduring power of the unknown, a chilling reminder that some secrets refuse to stay buried, that some pasts are never truly past, that the dead do not always rest. It's a place where history isn't just read in books, but felt in the cold spots that seep into your bones, heard in the whispers that brush against your ear, and seen in the fleeting shadows that dance at the periphery of your vision, just out of reach, just beyond comprehension. It's a place where the past refuses to die, where the dead walk among the living, and where the line between reality and nightmare is terrifyingly thin, almost non-existent. A place where the veil has worn away, allowing the spectral world to bleed into our own. So, the next time you step into a seemingly ordinary pub, the kind you might pass every day without a second thought, take a moment. Listen closely to the silence between the laughter. Feel the chill that might not be a draft. And wonder, just for a moment, if the spirits of the past are still lingering, watching you from the shadows, waiting for their moment to reveal themselves, to tell their untold stories, to share their unending torment. Because at the Wheatsheaf Inn, they always are. And the question isn't if you'll encounter them, but when and what horrifying secret they might just reveal to you, a secret that could change your perception of the world forever, leaving you with a chilling understanding of what truly lies beyond. A haunting knowledge that will stay with you long after you leave its ancient walls.